Well, hello again to all of you wonderful people out there across the information superhighway to the 121st edition of Weird Mind Newsroom, where we are back again with another week in focus, some of the new releases, a trailer or two, and some news stories of media. So let's not waste time and discuss all things of media that we do have released from this week.
When you're alone and life is making you lonely, you can always go
Downton.
So our first of new releases will bring the concept that we may see this as a bit of a form of exercise, and it'll be all worth doing for some health and well-being. But in the case of this project, it will be taking this simple idea and putting it to the extreme. As we have what I assume is the last of the film adaptations based on the stories and novels of Master of Horror Stephen King, as we release of the all-new title of one of his first ever written stories with The Long Walk. And the film is set in an alternate dystopian United States as ruined by a totalitarian regime, where we'll see a group of young men entering an annual walking contest where they must walk at least 3 miles per hour without stopping, or they will be warned before they are shot and killed, and the continued walk does not stop until one boy is left alive. Now, reception of this new film adaptation has been very highly well received, with praise to its performances, its tension, and for being one of the more well-made and finest versions of a Stephen King novel. And if you want to check it out for yourself, then you can walk yourself down to the cinemas to check it out for yourself. Then our second film for release for this week is in the focus that we have seen a fair amount of class and grace over the years, and after many years in focus, it's time for the finest form of a royal farewell, as we have the release of the third and final entry of the films based on the beloved classical series, with Downton Abbey, the grand finale. Now, set in the summer of 1930, the Crawleys grapple with the threat of possible social disgrace when Mary finds herself at the centre of a public scandal, supposedly a divorce or something, and the family faces financial struggles and will look for a way to resolve the dilemma or lose the home forever. Now, reception on this final entry of the films has also been very highly praised, with notes towards the beloved character performances, story, and being a well-respected wrap-up to the films and series as a whole, and for some of the late cast. And if you want to see a fine farewell for yourself, you can catch this new film also out now in cinemas. Now for a bit of an anime fix for some of you out there, with the focus of where some previous film releases were seen as just some compilation films, this will be a full-length continuation for many fans of this series, as we have the release of the all-new film of the Demon Slayer series with Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, the movie Infinity Castle. The film will follow on from the conclusion of the 4th season of this show and the first part of a trilogy, and we'll see Tanjiro Kamado and the members of the Demon Slayer Corps find themselves outmatched and facing off in an epic battle in a location known as the Infinity Castle. Now, reception on this title has also been very well received, with praise for its animation, its storyline, and for a visual spectacle and continuing arc of the series and adaptation of the manga arc it is from. And if you are all for checking out for yourself, then it's available to check out now in cinemas. Our final film for this week that we have in focus is a follow-up to a band that may or may not have been real, the legacy forged in the eyes of many, and after being quiet for decades, they are back to bring the end once again. As after nearly 40 years since the world were introduced to this legendary rock band, they are back once again with the release of Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues. The film will see documentary Mari DeBergi follow estranged Spinal Tap bandmates David St. Hobbins, Nigel Tufnell, and Derek Smalls as they search for a new drummer and prepare for a reunion tour in New Orleans. And joined by music royalty of Elton John and Paul McCartney, they soon wrestle with their checkered past to put on a show that they hope will solidify their place in the pantheon of rock and roll. Now, reception on this follow-up is a little more mixed, but still mostly modest in reception, with praise to the returning cast, its film style, and humor, though the concept of follow-up may be a bit more mixed to some. If you want to see how the reunion will turn out, then you can catch this new film out now as well in cinemas. As for our only TV show for this week, it's time to return all the way back to the Big Apple once more, and to the location of the one place in town that always seems that when you least expect it, that someone is going to end up getting themselves in a possible body bag or unexpected death. It seems that these amateur sleuths have gotten their work cut out for them once again, as we have the release of the 5th season of the popular comedy series of Only Murders in the Building. The new season will see Charles, Oliver, and Mabel find themselves looking to find a way to resolve the death of one of their beloved members of their colony with the death of the friendly doorman Lester, and will focus on the themes of past versus present New York, where the trio will discover a deeper divide between the storied city that they thought they knew and the New York evolving all around them, one where the old mob fights to hold on as newer, even more dangerous players emerge, while the trio finds a way to solve the case of this murder. Now, reception on this new season, like the previous 4, is still very high praise, with praise the so far end of the new season's themes, guest stars, and leading stars of Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. Now, some see it starting to show some signs, but it's mostly still well loved. And if you're up for tapping into the next mystery, you can catch the first 3 episodes out now on Disney Plus and Hulu, with a new episode releasing every Tuesday. And our last release of the week is a focus of video games in a perspective that after a bit of dormancy for a couple of years, besides a bit of an underwhelming trip into another media format, it's time for the levels of chaos, violence, and criminals to make a return to vast planets and strange locations, as after about 6 years since the last numbered entry, we are back once again with the next entry of the popular looter shooter series with Borderlands 4. Now in this title, you will take on the role of a vault hunter who must lead a resistance against a ruthless dictator named the the Timekeeper and his army of synthetic followers while searching for secret alien treasures. Now, in the case on this reception, his new entry has most been positive, with praising the game being a return to form after a mixed appeal of the last entry of the mainline ones with improved gunplay, writing, and graphics. Though some of the performance issues specifically on PC have been a bit of a issue as most cases, but I'm sure be fixed very quickly. And if you're up for playing a new game yourself, then you could buy it now on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S and PC, with a Switch 2 version coming out on October 3rd. And with all that regards, that's all the new releases that we do have for this week.
I didn't hear no bell.
Moving to trailers, and the first that we have is one I've been waiting for since the release of the first two entries, and it seems to be a case that the presence of death and mystery seems to be everywhere and occur when you least expect it. And in the case of this one, it looks like some sense of a mystery has occurred in a place of worship and prayer, and under strange and mysterious circumstances. And it will take one man with quite a sudden twang of a voice to crack this case once more, as Benoit Blanc is back once more with the third film in the popular mystery series with the trailer for Wake Up Dead Man and Knives Out Mystery. And the new film will see Benoit Blanc find himself in his darkest case yet, as he finds himself investigating and sifting through a series of suspects when he learns of Monsignor, who turns up dead under mysterious circumstances in his church. So in all case, I love this series after seeing the original in cinemas all those years ago, and it seems like Rian Johnson really knows how to craft an appealing mystery, as both the previous entries have been great, and from the sounds of the reception for this next one, it seems like it is tree for tree so far in this trilogy. I'd even say his Poker Face series is also on that list as well. I'm all for checking out this new mystery to unfold, and we're not too far away from release as well, as this film will be getting a limited cinema release from the 28th of November, and then it'll be releasing into Netflix on December 12th. Our second trailer for this week is seeing with these next two both have a focus in the area of talking on sports-based biopics, and this one will see a legacy of the time getting a focus in the career in the ring and the struggles outside of it, as Benny Safdie and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson are bringing a new take on an iconic legacy with the release of the second and final trailer for the new biofilm of The Smashing Machine. Now, the film will see The Rock play former wrestler MMA fighter Mark Kerr as he experiences and see the focus of the peak of his career in the industry. But in the journey of that success, we see him face some personal hardships along the way and how he would make a recovery in his relationships, his health, and career to make him an iconic name for the industry. So it's kind of interesting to always see when an actor or talent goes through a massive transformation to really make something new or telling a life that is especially seen, and this is kind of especially seen with The Rock in his methods of looking a lot different than I'm used to seeing him, because, you know, I'm mostly known to seeing him bald and being a huge buff guy, but he's kind of like, he's slightly lighter, and he also has hair, which I haven't seen him since by like 2008 or 2009 with The Game Plan. And like the case instance what I've seen now from the award shows, he's also a lot more skinnier for other roles in the case, which is sort of weird. And it does seem like it's showing more of a layered performance than his usual film fare, and it does look like it's a possible award contender for Johnson, and see a change of roles for the wrestling star. I mean, this film supposedly got a 15-minute sound elevation that I question if it really was 15 minutes, but I will talk about that later on a different topic. But I guess we'll see how this film will come about, as the film will be smashing its way into cinemas from the 3rd of October. Our third trailer for this week, and the second other project in the focus in the realm of sports and the art of fighting, was showing more in this growing sport that many would see a lot of time as a male-based sport, but it's proven that women and other non-specific genders can prove that they have what it takes in this case, as we're telling the focus of a star that was the best of the best, took a tumble, and through trials and tribulations will rise again to prove their worth, as we have the release of the trailer for the new boxing biofilm of Christy. Now, the film will tell the story of Christy Martin, and is played by Sydney Sweeney, known for one of the most successful boxers, female boxers in the 90s, and will chronicle her rise of sport in that decade, as well as her focus about surviving against the attempted murder by her husband in 2010. So it's always intriguing to learn of some of the famous faces' careers that may not be well known about, but with some of them have to intrigue me more to learn about, and for the looks of this one, this could be something really interesting. As for likes to the lead of this film, while I can give or take Sweeney's acting as she's decent in some, she hasn't fully gripped me proving her acting prowess, and may ease some of the continued controversies that have evolved recently for some people over the last few weeks, and could prove with the project it may appeal, but I guess we'll see what comes of it all, with the film punching its way into cinemas from the 7th of November in the US, and then over here on the 28th of November. Now initially it was just 3 trailers, but then this one came in as I was finished up writing this episode, and as the case I may as well add it in, as we return to a realm of the fantasy land of monsters and to follow a man with a heavy build, powers, and long flowing white hair. Although it seems a new face is in order for this new form, as we've received a new teaser trailer for the upcoming 4th season of the video game adaptation of The Witcher. Now, the new season will follow on from the shocking continent-altering events of the last season, and will follow Geralt, that's now played by Liam Hemsworth, Yennefer, and Ciri, as they are faced with traversing the war-ravaged continent as many demons apart from each other. If they can embrace and lead the group of misfits they find themselves in, they have a chance of surviving the baptism of fire and finding one another again along the way. So as to say that the changes have been a bit of a wait to see what will come of this overall project itself, I know the likes of the project in general has been slowly dwindling with positive appeal ever since the first one was like the most well liked, and then every other season after has been kind of like not that great reception because it's not faithful to the adaptations and books and stuff like that. But But maybe the case we can see if Hemsworth could live up to the appeal of the man himself of Cavill, because, Cavill was the only one that gave a damn about this series. But I guess we'll see in due time. And it's not too long away to see what will come of this, as this fall does now have a new release date officially, this new season dropping onto Netflix from 30th of October. And with all that regards now, that's all the new trailers that we do have for this week.
My uncle works at Nintendo, so...
Now, the big main story of the news section for this week, in a week of quiet media news and a lot of discussion about an event that happened, I'm not going to touch on in general. I'm not touching on that anyway. The much rumored speculation, leaks, and reports of the last few weeks, we finally got the proper first-party Nintendo Direct this week. That was a big one, of being 2 directs in one, with both the normal Direct and one focus on the realm of the 40th anniversary of the mustachioed plumber himself, where over 40 projects were announced or given updates to, and I will go on through and announce everything that was in the focus, make sure as quick as can, and then talk a little bit at the end about some other things. But let's delve into what was announced in this Direct in particular. So they started off with the Mario anniversary event, where the unveiling was gotten some news on the follow-up movie. And while some reports initially earlier was for a Mario Worlds title, we are going beyond that. And it has been confirmed that we are instead getting a Mario Galaxy movie as the sequel, which I was not expecting as the first sequel, and wouldn't be more entitled the third title in this trilogy. But I'm not one to complain with this, as I love the duo of games, and I'm all for seeing this film when it comes out around Easter of next year, with the main group of Mario, Peach, Bowser, and Luigi, Toad, and Kamek all confirmed back as castings. But it's unclear if Seth Rogen's DK will be back, or even the likes of confirmation of voice for the teased Yoshi, or if Rosalina is here, but I guess we'll see by a special major rec for it that will probably happen in a few weeks for the trailer. But in the case of speaking of Galaxy, we were then given a confirmation that Super Mario Galaxy 1 will be back on the Switch, and also the sequel for the first time on the console, with the option to buy separately or in a bundle, which will be releasing on October 2nd with updated visuals and up to 4K support, which sounds interesting. I know there's a bit of complaint about the pricing, but I think for 2 massive solid titles, I'm not complaining too much if there's some upgrades on both of the consoles. I think it's like upgrade stuff like that. And in a case instance, I think like secondhand copies of this, if you haven't owned it already, is like close to the price general for like the 2 together. But yeah, it's less than the €40 they're paying for it. It's also confirmed that we're getting some new amiibos based on the game releasing on the day of the movie's release, and also the storybook from the first game will also be getting a physical version coming sometime later, and I'm sure it will be well for purchase in the future for some Mario collectors. Then the case of a new entry of a sports title for Mario. While people initially thought it was going to be a new baseball title from a leaked tie in toy form, it was actually confirmed to be a new tennis game of Mario Tennis Fever that includes new modes of new Fever rackets, wonder modes, 38 characters, and all new adventure series. That seems quite a lot to take in for a game that will be hitting the court soon enough, but I guess we'll see what will come about it when it releases on the 12th of February next year. Then the case was unveil a new update to the recent game of Mario Wonder, getting its own Switch 2 edition, which includes a new challenge area of Meetup in Bellabelle Park, which may be a bit of a fun, though unsure if it includes it being all online, and also hinted that there'd be more new single-player content involving the return of the Koopalings, but I'm sure we will get more of an idea of what to expect from that version of the title releasing sometime in the spring of next year. And it was also the case to confirm that you can get your own physical version of the game's talking flower in a physical item, which is also coming out in the spring of next year as well. That apparently talks on its own, so that's going to be a concern. Then to wrap the last of the games from the Mario event, and the thing noticed as apart from the first Direct after the Switch 1 launch was that we have the announcement of a new game for the green dino of Yoshi, with the mysterious book that has been a really cutesy art style and gives me a Yoshi story sequel vibe to it all, and does look really fun and wholesome, and I'm all for checking this out when the game's story is told sometime next spring too. Wrapping up I say is a solid selection of anniversary announcements, but now it's time for the main Direct focus in particular. Now starting the main Direct itself, we got the focus of a title of Stormlancers that sees you and a friend get teleported into a strange world where in the new roguelike you will shoot, smash, and dash your way through a colourful 80s anime inspired world. And they appeal in some forms of checking it out, and it's the first of the titles that was unveiled at this Direct is available on the same day of the event to try out itself. Then the first of some of the farming sim titles, we have the focus on the new game of Dinkum, which will have you create a new cozy life in vast wilderness inspired by the Australian outback. And this could provide some new variety in the realm of cozy sims and be sure worth an appeal to some when the title comes unleashed onto the console from the 6th of November. Then a new venture full of colour with a focus of a game called Poppycom, which with the chibi style tile that gives me a bit of a mix of a Puyo Puyo Tetris style and Splatoon, with the game seeing you use the colour assigned weapons you have to make your way through the strange world and fight bosses, and it seems like a fun little adventure to play with your friends and be worth to play with friends in the future when the game releases sometime later this winter. Then first unveiled at the Direct before the Switch 2 conference, we got an all new look at the follow-up to Tomodachi Life with Living the Dream, with seeing more of the weird and wacky aspects that will be a focus in this project that the original was all known for and was beloved for, and will be well worth a play when the new game is confirmed for release now in the spring of next year. Then it's time to juke it out as we got a new look at the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection that will see a selection of classic games in the series across console and handheld, and loads of extra features including behind the scenes footage. It seems we may appeal in that style and form. It'll be well for play when the game releases digitally on the 30th of October, and then in a physical format with a collection edition on December 12th. Then we got some more news, the new look at the first entry of the Final Fantasy Remake series series with the first Final Fantasy VII Remake integrated, with the appeal of the first entry, the massive visual upgrade and expanded story I'm sure will appeal. And in case I've been meaning to play this new title for some time, so this will be something I'll be trying out myself. The trial drops on the console the 22nd of January of next year. Then we got the look of some RTS game of Linked Banner of the Spark that has a hack and slash form that will see you as the last humans of the planet teaming with some oddball bots to fight back against the combots that I'm sure will appeal overall and be interesting to try out when the game also releases on the day of the event itself. Then after some quite bit of time, we finally got a new look at some of the new footage of the sequel to the acclaimed title of Hades 2, which will be more of a hack and slash underworld appeal that the original provided as you stop the god of time as the princess of the underworld, and does look really cool. I know for sure it'll be well worth playing, with the game being a console exclusive in the digital format coming September 25th, so in 2 weeks, and then a physical version coming on the 20th of November. But also releasing on the 20th of November is the second batch of amiibo content we have this week, is the confirmation of some Air Riders amiibos for Kirby Air Riders, and Bandana B were once having been confirmed as an option to now swap the figures, and also confirmed as the first 2 amiibos for this game, with the vehicle aspects, which is the first for the figure series. And it seems like it'll be well worth a purchase, and we'll see more in the range soon, with these 2 confirmed for release on November 20th, with a new game and a new Kirby Direct on the way soon before the game's launch on the same day. Then some new footage was unveiled for the upcoming title of Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment that will expand upon the contents that we first alluded to in Tears of the Kingdom, and it seems like it'll be well worth more to see more of the story instead of told through memories, and will now finally have a release date, with the title set for release on the 6th of November for the console. Then we had a return of a classic entry of the popular series as we received the confirmation of a new remake of the 7th entry of the Dragon Quest series that will see you set sail to restore the lands from danger. And while some of this art style can be a little rough looking, just from the edges it looks a bit off, I'm sure we'll get used to it over time, and again we'll be setting sail onto the Switch range from the 5th of February of next year. Then we got a little bit sort of a small accessory focus update, with the Nintendo Today app getting a new Kirby theme that will be delving into topics of talking on some Air Riders news, and then with the Switch Online, we got the unveiling of another classic console, but one you would not expect. But they unveiled the Virtual Boy is coming back to the console, with the 14 games that were made for that sort of failed console coming out. Though the catch is, it will need to be played you need to buy the actual new form of the headset, which costs about €100 to put on the console, and it may be interesting, but we'll talk on more of that later in this range, with this new accessory coming out on the 17th of February of next year. Then the only one I see is the only Focus spooky title getting a new fresh coat of paint is with the remake of the classic entry of the Fatal Frame series with Crimson Butterfly that will have you fight against the spooks and demons with the trusty camera and keep your sanity intact in the process. I'm sure it'll be well worth a play when the new game launches in the early part of next year. Then the next batch was just a focus of some new games getting a Switch 2 edition of the titles, with the first being the title of One Piece Pirate Warriors 4, with most new info provided the title being able to see more enemies on screen at once, and I'm sure there's probably a few more upgrades to this version, but hard to really say, and if not then it feels lacking, but I guess we'll see by the release sometime in the autumn of this year. Then Overcooked 2 also got a Switch 2 edition with not much new besides the function of a camera mode if you have the Switch 2 camera accessory handy, and like in case hopefully we'll see some new added extras, but again we'll have to see by its launch in the console sometime this winter. Then the one of the 2 titles with a fair bit of decent additions is the Switch 2 version of Stardew Valley that will now add mouse controls with the Switch 2 mouse features, 4-player local co-op, or even a game share with other Switches where once one person has the game. I feel there may be a bit more to this, but we'll see by the release of also coming out this winter. Then the last of the Switch 2 new additions was the release of the title of Human Fall Flat that will also add the use of mouse controls, and also the added additions of 5 new levels confirmed for this version. It'll be well worth seeing if they have a lot more new things alongside it as well, but the release of the game in the spring of next year. Then I feel it may be time to clean the stress away as we have the unveiling of the sequel to Power Wash Simulator that will have you cleaning up the vast new locations across the world that are covered in tough dirt, and some items you may find you can use for decorating your own house, and also be playing 2-player split screen or 4-player online co-op, and I'm sure it'll be well worth it to ease the stress off with the game releasing in the autumn of this year. Then the all-powerful fruit combining game of Suka Game is getting a new follow-on with Suka Game Planet that will see the match the different fruits in a more 360-degree perspective, and I'm sure will appeal to some of the game of matching fruits and be well worth a play when the title releases sometime this winter as well. Then we got some new footage, all new high anticipated title of Metro Prime 4, and just some new tech that will be experienced in this upcoming title with the focus of a new power cycle, with an open world aesthetic for the game that I'm sure will be interesting to explore and learn new secrets and powers in. And I'm sure we're likely to get a direct either next month or before launch in this game. And thankfully, we now have a release date for this title, with it dropping on December 4th on both Switch consoles. It's also confirmed that we're also getting new amiibo with 2 for Samus on their own or with the new power cycle coming in November 6th, and 1 of the character of Silex dropping on the same day of the game. Then following the success of the main title, the all new adventure of DK Bonanza is getting some new paid DLC, with the focus of the new DK Island and Emerald Rush expansion, where you will explore a new take on DK's home island and take part in smashing collecting as much Emerald Gems as quick as you can in a time limit there, and across as many layers of the game. And while I feel the DLC is a little pricey for an amount of content shown about 20 quid, depending how much there is, I feel it could have an appeal to try after the main game, with it available to now get on the console just after the event itself. Then we got a focus of what I would see as a bit of a mix of an Animal Crossing, the visual world inspired by the recent Legend of Zelda game, and it combined in the focus of the world of Pokemon, as if the new spin-off entitled of Pokemon Pokopaya, where you become a transformed Ditto and create a vast and growing community for many Pokemon, which looks a lot fun, little cozy game. We well worth a play until word of a new Animal Crossing comes around, which I've heard rumors about was supposed to be here, but it'll be well worth a try when it releases sometime later next year. Then he unveiled some new footage of the upcoming Pokemon Legends titles, showing off more of the world and many of the Mega Evolutions, which will also discuss the end of this direct of some issues in the game and the outer concept as a whole, with many to explore and catch with its release in the month of October 16th. And even before the game is even out, they have confirmed that the next title is getting paid DLC in the form of Mega Dimension, with the focus of being on Mega Raichu X, Raichu Y, and Hoopa so far in this tease, but I feel this DLC may vary, but if overpriced the amount of content in this expansion, then we'll discuss, but we will learn more about this by the case of releasing sometime soon in the future. Then we got the announcement of a new remaster of the 2D game in the Danganronpa series, with this 2 Acts 2 that will come with the original game story of the sequel, but also a new storyline included that will see a new scenario cause a whole new trial perspective and collection of new victims, and it may be well worth a play itself, with the title expected to release sometime in 2026. Then the newest entry of the Dynasty Warriors series of Origins, released earlier this year, will be coming to the console that will have you as the one-man army against an armada, and the appealing story of how it all began playing out on the go, and may be worth playing alongside the Hyrule Warriors title, with the game's several release on the 22nd of January next year. Then they gave a new look at the next entry of the Monster Hunter Story series, with twisted reflections to have you bond with vast creatures as you explore the land and then use them to help against a deadly petrification that has taken a hold of the land. And I'm sure we may be an interesting tale to explore and resolve, with the title set now to take flight on the Switch 2 from the 13th of March of next year. Then it was kind of a brief montage time of about 8 titles that was focused, with the first being the 2 Point Museum that has you manage and control your museum of your dreams, with the title released on the 28th of October. Then a new brief look at the turn-based RPG of the Seika 7 complete, with it making its way to the console to battle and fight the force of creatures of evil, with the new title dropping in a few weeks time on the 10th of October. Then you have the annual affair of EAFC 26 shown off, that was to wonder if they'll improve this version or be another copy-paste job like the Switch ones were, but we'll see when 2 weeks time when it drops on the 26th of September. Then we got a small look at the duo of the HD 2D remakes of Dragon Quest 1 and 2 that will complete the story that began from Dragon Quest 3, and if you're up for more of these classic adventures, then you'll be able to play these titles releasing on the console from the 30th of October. Then we got the focus of the title of Virtua Fighter 5 Revo that will bring the classic fighting series back in many ways, that will bring a new perspective of the original Virtua Fighter 5 and be fighting its way onto the console sometime this winter. Then there was another brief look at the new LEGO title of LEGO Voyagers, of being 2 small eye blocks going in a massive build adventure that may be an appeal to try when the title releases on Monday of next week. Then they gave a new look at the upcoming third entry of the Little Nightmare series that will be well worth a long wait for it, with its spooky puzzles and monsters to solve with your companion alone or with a friend, and be all for playing by its release on the 10th of October as well. And the last of the small compilation focus was a brief new look at the Persona 3 Reloaded port to the console that will be bringing the love and appeal of the game to the console when it releases on the system on the 23rd of October. Then the second last game in focus that was unveiled was, after being revealed at the Summer's Games Fest as its closing title, we got the confirmation at this event that the all-new 9th game of the Resident Evil series of Requiem will be confirmed to be releasing onto the Switch 2 as well on the same day as the other consoles of 27th of February, which will see Grace Ashcroft solve the case of some mysterious virus and how it will also tie into Raccoon City in some way and form. And I'm all excited to play this title real soon. And in addition to this, while they were cloud versions on the original Switch, it was confirmed that the previous entries of Resident Evil 7 Biohazard and Resident Evil Village will also be releasing as a gold editions of their games on the same day as 9 for the Switch 2, so we can have the full trilogy in our hands and on the go without a required internet connection constantly. Now they just need to drop the remakes of 2, 3, and 4, and maybe even the other games, and we are golden. And then to wrap up the Master Direct with one final title was a return to the series that has been noticeably quiet for a fair bit of time, and that was with the new entry of the Fire Emblem series, with the new game of Fortune's Weave that looks to bring some classic characters back as well as provides a new setting and new faces in some massive games battle arena from the setting. I'm sure it'll be well worth a try, and probably get some recommendations from my friend that loves this series of where to start with this whole franchise, with the game releasing sometime next year. Now, I will say in all cases of things, I really did like this direct itself. I thought there was a lot of big games and titles that were needed that have been quiet for a good bit of time, and it's a case that some of my hopes didn't show, like I was holding out hope for a Red Dead Redemption 2 port that was rumored a few weeks ago, and there was no word yet on the new Professor Layton New World of Steam game that is out this year, but that one is confirmed to be at Tokyo Game Show in 2 weeks, so we'll hold a hope for release date then. But there were some issues I want to bring up that I have some concern about, and I know for a few I've talked with have said the same, and that's with what's going on in the company, because it really feels a bit questionable on the basis of the pricing of a lot of these games and difference between Switch 1 and 2 versions, because it seems like they don't notice that, yes, everything is getting more expensive, and it just feels a bit more of a concern that a company that more often than not releases really solid first-party titles are getting a bit more money hungry, which means this is expected from the management of this company now, being that they were former financial or bank management taking over from the company, where all they want is money, compared to management of the past that cared for their audience. In all regards, it's a bit messy. This also comes with the case of the DLCs being a bit too pricey as they're being announced that way too early all of a sudden to feel overwhelming, or in the case that the Virtual Boy accessory being needed to play the games, the console, and asking for another €100 when it was people already paid about 500 for the console already. But then again, this seemed with any company like Sony, as well as varying prices of tech and accessories, or Xbox too, it just dampens a bit of the whole aspect. Now lastly, in the case with Pokemon, I don't mind the games they were shown, like ZA looks fun, as does the Pokepaya game, but would ZA needing to have an online membership to get the Mega Evolutions or announce DLC before the game has been made available for people is really just kind of messy. And it's not even getting into the whole ordeal that's going on that was before this direct happened, as was announced before this conference, with the whole patent they filed for this would affect about summoning a character, letting it fight one another, and the case of smooth switching or riding objects. As well, I can see that targeting their main issue of Pal World being kind of like a carbon copy of Pokemon in some regards, but with guns. This has caused a major issue with other big games and companies that will basically limit mechanics and use for other games, and I feel they didn't think it through, and it's really all sort of a mess in this regards. Now, I apologize in this regards if I sound like a Nintendo defender from the discussion of this direct above for a lot of it, because the case, I do love this company. I really enjoyed playing the Switch 2. I've all the games they played so far, and many of the games over the series in general for years I've loved with dearly, so many of them. But some bit it's hard to defend in some elements, like I mentioned here, and I just hope that they will kind of work a way to fix these issues, because learn the error of their ways and go back to being like they were, making quality games nearly all the time and being supporting and fair to their fans, and not in the way of now where it's this high pricing, lawsuits, and getting every bit of coin from their pockets. But I hold out hope that this could happen, but I guess we kind of have to see. But now with all that out of the way, and I do apologize for being a bit negative there. I don't want to be. I try to be neutral, and just apologies. I just want something good in this day and age, just in general in my life, and just to the world at this point. But I want to know what you think of this direct. Was there any of these games you're most excited about, and do you think Nintendo could change back to see the error of their ways from all the stuff that's been going on right now? But let me know what you think down below of all these, and we can discuss about it there. Now, this last story is going to be kept in the case of just being very more brief, and the approach to this has me questioning if they really are milking this more and more than it needs to be. But we are talking about, once again, of one of the last week's big releases, of course, and this is with the Conjuring series. Now, after the mainline series was announced, and it was the highest opening for a horror movie in cinemas, beating out the record held by the recent adaptations of Stephen King's It from a couple of years ago, it seems to be the case that Warner Bros. Is seeing this as a big financial ordeal, as earlier this week we got the confirmation that the initially announced TV series based on the franchise that was first mentioned back in 2023 or 2022 was back in the full swing of production after the success of the newest film. This was, however, not the only announcement, as the day or so later it was also confirmed that the films are not over, even if the most recent one was called Last Rites, as it seems we're getting a prequel film about also on the way, which will likely be a focus of their maybe first case or something of that like, but we really have no idea. Now, personally, I feel in all sense of things that the series was well good when it first started, and the first sequel is solid as being the most known and feeling the most unsettling and most grounded in tone. Even the base of the supernatural could be seen as questionable to people, but I feel in general that maybe it is milking this franchise dry from the many spin-offs of characters in the main films, and then continuing the story that's seeing everything at once, or too much will get unappealing very quickly over time. Now, do I see this working in terms of a series or a new film? I can see this as both yes and no. In the case of yes, I can see it could probably get some of the other cases or stories that probably work out well enough in this regards that, people may not know about, or you might think it probably works better as a short story kind of aspect. But also in the case instance, if you're going to overdo it, it's going to get tedious. Now, as the case would be likely could do approach the series in the likes of a season expanding one case across maybe 8 to 10 episodes, or what cases would appeal, or if it's like a short story, an episode of some of the most haunted items in their former Museum of Oddities. Now, I feel in all case, the one thing that many are saying needs to be brought back is getting James Wan to direct the project, the prequel film or some form of the series in some way, as people seem to emphasize if they peel back to the last two mainline ones seem to be missing, because I think he wasn't involved with those two. But I guess we kind of see what comes of this whole ordeal in the future, but I'm sure if any updates come about it, I will of course provide that in a later episode with this whole thing. But what do you make of these announcements? Will you be interested in a Conjuring TV series and prequel film, or do you feel this has run its course already, or should end with the last film just released? Let me know what you think of all these down below, and for all of that regards now, that's all the news that we do have for this week.
Yeah, I'm walking to Peru.
Now, that just concludes episode 121 of Weird Mind Newsroom, and I hope you enjoyed this. My rambling, so it's probably going to be over 30 minutes, but hey, that's what you're going to get. Anyways, let's delve into what was discussed coming up on the channel. So reviews-wise, I'm going to get to those snack size box office ones. I meant to like edit them this week just in case I was just busy and stuff like that, and you know, kind of like coming in from work and balancing different things like that, it's just kind of like, it can really just drain you, especially like long travel and stuff like that, but I'm going to have those out probably next week or two, just at least maybe 2 this week, 2 next week, but we'll see. In the case then of other ones, like the last review is going to come out as well. I'm going to get some more reviews. I need to get to Conjuring and Long Walk and stuff like that, kind of like review them, because like September is kind of quiet in terms of big films. Like you have those two, you have one next week, and then you have you have like a horror and a Paul Thomas Anderson film next week after that, and then October kind of picks up a bit, but we'll see in that regards. But all these reviews are going to come along eventually, so look forward to them. Long form, short form, all the different variations and lengths, but you'll see. Gameplay wise as well, DK Bonanza is going to come back eventually as well, in case I'm going to record some bits and pieces of that. I'll probably wait until I finish the game to play the DLC, and in the case of all Mario Wonder, Cyberpunk, Star Wars, all these other games are going to come along as well. I'm going to do some horror ones probably from around October, so probably in case maybe like do LS 2, I'm going to do Silent Hill 2, Alone in the Dark, Quiet Place, a few other ones that basically are kind of scary ones that might be appealing of like a quick fire game through, stuff like that, maybe put some of the games I'm playing right now on hold and then go back to those, but we'll see. And then long form stuff, the AI video is going to come along eventually. I promise someone I will do it, so I'm going to get that done. The rewatchathons I'm going to get back to finishing. I'm just transporting them over to like a new format kind of thing, because like hard drive's a bit finicky, but you know, hopefully I have them ready. And in the case of the Lego Times one, I have it edited. I'm just going to upload it probably before this video comes out, so probably just be out by at least Sunday or Monday. We'll probably see that case of things, but I'm just going to do a thumbnail and get bits and pieces like that sort of stuff, so they're going to come eventually. That's going to come along as well. And I can get to more some time-lapse ones. So I have 3 big, large sets to build right now. I have a small one, which is the Fantastic Four one, and I have another one that's on the way. So like in case, I'll probably have a few more on the line of time-lapse ones. And let me know what you want me to see build over time as well. Like maybe it's like sub-goals stuff, I'll do some ones, but we'll see in that regards. But with that regards now, I'm going to end the episode there for now. So if you like my content and want to see more from me more frequently, simply like and subscribe. So I want to stuff every single week. I'm aiming for 500 subs at this point right now, because I feel like I'm not going to reach 1,000 by the end of this year, but even to 500 will be ever so grateful in this regards. So, you know, even if we continue closer to 1K as we get close to the end of the year, we ever so grateful, but you know, any support is appreciated in all regards, like from the first timers, the OGs, or people that may have disappeared for a bit, unsubscribed, and they're always welcome back. They're always welcome. They're always a place in my heart in that regards, and I thank every single one of you for doing so. If you get to 500, I'll even thank you personally of all the names that have their list down there. But let me know your thoughts on everything that's discussed down below as well, like all the new releases, the trailers, and your opinions, like the news stories that we had this week as well, and give your thoughts on everything that was discussed. But anyways, I'm gonna leave it there for now. It's as always, you all stay being wonderful people. Have a great day every day, doing great things, and keeping you because no one else can do what you do. And of course, with this case of this month, take care of yourself because it is Mental Health Awareness Month. Check in on your friends, check in on your loved ones because they may need it more than ever. I know that case. But anyways, in that case, I'll leave it there for now. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. So take care, and I shall see you later. See you later.